Brown Skin Investors.
In case y'all ain't know, it's Brown Wealth.
Yes, sir. We got somebody back in the building.
It's been a minute.
Holla at your boy.
The boys that turned up today, people.
Yes, sir. It's gonna be a good one.
Play with money that you can't lose. You acting like a fool. Don't gotta be that.
Hey. I just gotta say, I'm happy to have my boys back in town.
man.
The
Everybody's
boys is
back
back
in.
in
When was the
town.
last time all four of us were?
Probably like episode like 4 when I came back.
Chill, not
When I
that
came back.
long.
It's been like a
It's
month.
been like 5, right? 4 or
Yeah,
5.
yeah,
At least
like
4 or 5, but
episodes,
it
yeah.
feels good. Just the energy, baby.
Yeah, so
Yeah, man.
welcome everybody to Brown Wealth Radio here on TGN Latinx and the Good News Radio Network, along with YouTube in our new studio out here in Westchester, California. It's your boy Ricks, and I'm rocking the mask because my beard hasn't been trimmed up or cleaned in years. I'm looking really dusty right now, but I got my boys Rennie in studio, Jesse in studio, and Dogra in studio.
Happy to be here, my
So,
guy.
Jesse, you took a trip out recently to
I
Big
did,
Bear,
man. I
You want
did.
to let the people know about this? 'Cause,
Absolutely, man. I popped my Big Bear cherry this weekend.
Oh wow!
Is that like your last one left? 'Cause-
Look at that! Hold on. Look at the smile he had when he said it. Hold on, and Rennie wasn't involved.
Rennie was not involved in popping this cherry.
like I said, were there any left?
Look, somebody got jelly.
cherry, bro.
Somebody got jelly.
No, man, but it was a great time, man. I went up there with my wife, my au pair, my 2 little girls, and we took Blue with us, my
Okay.
oldest dog. We didn't take the other 2 because they're fucking maniacs.
Cold world, man.
Yeah, man. They chilled in. They got boarded up, so they were chilling. But yo, man, so I stayed at your man's spot at Whispering Pine Place.
Yep. It's
Um,
Shout
Casa
out Mega
Brewer.
Cat
Casa
Vic.
Brewer. You can check them out on Instagram at Whisper Pine Place. It's our boy Mega Cat Vic.
Yes,
Shout outs
sir.
to him.
dude, the place.
Hold
is-
on. Not just Vic and Betty. Don't forget
Yeah,
Betty.
Vic and Betty. Obviously,
Betty's
she's
making it
she's
happen too. Shout out
Betty.
She's the main head of that. But how was the place,
Dude,
man?
the place is immaculate. Like my jaw hit the floor when I saw it. Like
Yeah.
when we walked in, it was fantastic. Like they're super great hosts. Like the directions to get there was crazy. Simple to follow. We get there, everything is modern. Like ain't no key. You just doot, 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 put your little numbers in.
How?
Doot, 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 doot. You
Nice.
put your little
Is that kind of like
personalized-
cling, 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 cling?
So we get there, bro. King size beds.
up?
Full
4
kitchen,
bedroom, huh?
4 bedrooms.
Dang.
Yeah.
Yeah, so my wife and I had the master, obviously. The au pair had her own room. Shout out to Natalia. And then each one of my daughters had their own room. So a
Nice.
2-year-old and an 8-month-old each had their own room.
She was like, "It's so much place for activities over here." Like,
So, dude, they loved it. They loved it. There was a hammock in the back, fire pit.
yeah.
Um,
How's the weather, by the way?
It was good. It was
Okay.
good. It was like in the 80s the majority
Okay.
of the time. Dropped down to like the high 50s, low 60s at night. So, bro, it was fantastic weather. I can't tell you guys how beautiful this place is. So they are booked up through August 25th, but they have now opened up bookings for the rest of the year. So trust me, go
Yep.
on to Airbnb, Whispering Pine Place.
Yep.
Follow them on IG. You will not be disappointed if you
Yeah,
go to
yeah.
that spot. It
And
is
if you
absolutely
forget
beautiful.
their IG handle, feel free to slide in our DMs and we'll pass the message along.
Yeah, we'll make
Absolutely.
sure.
So shout out to Vic, shout out to Bernice. Thank you so much
Yeah.
for hosting us. The family had a great time, and man, we'll be back. I'm trying to. Go back
I'm
in
hearing
order.
BSB retreat coming up soon. Over
Hey,
there.
do it. Hey.
4 bedrooms.
4 rooms. There you
Maybe
go.
we'll take the wives with us finally.
I like.
There
it.
you
I
go.
like it.
There you go.
Absolutely, man. So dímelo, mi gente. All right, and I said that and no babas came out. So I had
he's back.
a dental procedure done today, not realizing that we had the podcast, and I was like, oh, I hope the Novocaine wears off. But bueno, the boys,
Frank Ocean.
the Brown Skin Investors are finally all back in the same building. So let's clap it up for us one more.
Back in the building.
So we got
Our new
some-
building, actually.
the new building. So
Rennie's
shout out
first
to-
time. We're popping Rennie's cherry in the new building.
Oh,
There's a lot of cherry.
There's a
popping
lot
today,
of
bro.
cherry popping. Be careful, man.
Be
And this time
careful.
I'm here for that one. So we good. We
Yeah.
good. So man, it's good to have everybody back. And we got a great show lined up for you. So we got some news coming straight from the streets. You know, I heard that the Fed hiked up some rates.
Mhm.
I heard some crypto gurus sold all their shit before it hit the fan, and now they're getting investigated by the SEC. So there's a lot of stuff happening there. Chris, are you dropping some of those clink, 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 clink,
Yes,
clink,
sir.
clink?
Yes,
All
sir.
right.
You already know.
Awesome. We got Tesla and Microsoft for earnings. Is that right?
Yeah, I mean, we'll see how much time we have because there's
Yeah.
a few that reported, but at least Tesla and at least
Yeah, we gotta talk about the
Microsoft,
big
sure.
boys, man. That's
You
what our
know
post
it.
did. So our
Yeah.
post gave some shout outs to them earlier. So
And for Brown Wealth Matters today, I wanted to change it up. We've been talking a lot. I feel like we've been going at the community a little bit too hard. So I want to kind of revel in some of the great things that the Latino community has done. So, pero ya tú sabes, mi gente, before we do anything, my guy Rick's got to do what he do.
Yes,
so
sir.
let's kick off that disclaimer, my man.
everybody understand that our disclaimer is that our content is intended to be used and must be used for educational and informational purposes only. It is very important to do your own research, aka do your homework before making any investment decisions, and they should be based on your own personal circumstances. Investing has inherent risk, and past performance does not guarantee future results. You should take independent financial advice from a professional in connection with or independently research and verify any information that you wish to rely upon with a purpose of making an investment decision or otherwise. It's been a minute.
Oh man, you gotta have it memorized by now.
Right? That's what I was thinking. I'm like, why are you reading it? Memorize that shit, bro. We'll chop.
It's so good to have everybody back. I feel the love. I feel the
We'll
warmth.
chalk that up to the mask my boy wearing. We'll chalk it
Yeah,
up
there
to
you
that.
go. It's that.
Oh,
Yes, sir, let's get to it.
All right, so Biden, Cesar Leo's favorite.
shout out
Downplays,
Cesar Leo, my boy.
Sleepy.
He ain't 45.
Biden downplays worries about possible recession. I don't think we're going to see a recession, is what he said. We're not going to be in a recession, in my view, Biden told reporters on Monday. The employment rate is still one of the lowest we've had in history. It's in the 3.6% area. We still find ourselves, the people, investing. Director of the National Economic Council, Brian Deese, argued earlier Monday that if this week's report from the Commerce Department shows a second consecutive negative quarter of GDP, it does not mean the U.S. is in a recession. Using an argument that the White House used regarding an inflation report earlier this month, he said that second quarter data, which reflects the April through June period, will be inherently backward looking and pointed to the jobs created in that time frame. My whole thing is, duh. Of course, it's backward looking. Hello.
It always is backward looking.
Is that the White House's attempt to redefine
Yes.
Yeah.
what equals a recession?
Yeah. And I mean, you were telling me, what are the expectations for GDP?
So I've seen it as low as negative 2.01, and that came out from the Atlanta Fed maybe like 3 or 4 weeks ago. And then I've seen them as high as 0.5%, and I saw that speculation today. So either we're contracting or we, like, in essence, stayed flat.
But even a 0.5, let's be real.
I mean, if it does come out, even if it's at a 0.0, it's technically not a negative, so it
True.
will be a recession.
And we would have to do 2 in a row again.
2 consecutive.
Yeah.
So that would subside, I think, some of the conversation around
Okay.
it.
But sorry, but I think the one thing, we can get to this later on in the show or maybe next week, but then you got to ask yourself the question, when is stagflation going to hit?
Yeah.
Because that's an
Ooh.
even worse scenario. Because
Well,
now that's we'll get to that.
Segue
We'll get to
into
that.
the next article. So the Fed jacks rates again. Powell vows no surrender in the inflation battle. So today, the Federal Reserve said it would not flinch in its battle against the most intense breakout of inflation in the U.S. since the 80s, even if that means a sustained period of economic weakness and a slowing jobs market. As he explained the logic behind the stiffest interest rate increases in roughly 4 decades, Fed Chair Jerome Powell was peppered with questions about whether the U.S. economy was or is on the cusp of a recession, a notion he rejected because the U.S. firms continue to hire in excess of 350,000 additional workers each month. We do not want to see demand running below potential for a sustained period to create slack in the economy. We're just trying to do the right amount. We're not trying to have a recession. But he was adamant that the behavior of inflation would drive the Fed's course and that another unusually large rate increase could be appropriate when the Fed next meets if inflation does not begin to slow. So here's what happened today is the market had priced in a 0.75. And that's what came in, and that's why it took off, and we'll talk about that later. So to me, it almost feels like they're not staggering, they're metering it.
Yeah.
They're trying to meter it in, but it's only going to keep going. And the weirdest part for me is that no matter whether they increase 0.75, whether they increase 1, when inflation finally turns around, there's going to be like another positive reaction. But here's the thing, like, we're going to live with a lot of that for a very, very long time.
Yeah.
It'll be years
Yeah.
before we go back to 2%.
Yeah.
Agreed. I think when you think about it that way, right? It's like, and what have you been hearing in the news? All these big tech companies are now slowing down hiring.
Yeah.
So yeah, we added all these quote unquote jobs, but the market's telling you that the jobs are stopping or slowing
Yeah.
down. So
Or at least maybe like the higher the higher demand jobs may be stopping, or like the top tier kind of
Yep.
jobs,
Well-
those may be stopping.
Well, it's the white collar. You always
Yeah.
need the blue collar to make it happen.
Yeah.
One I think, and then there were, there's a couple other stories I wanted to cover, but in the interest of time, I'm going to prioritize one. But two that I was going to cover that are kind of related. Walmart announced this week that their profit margin is going to be substantially lower, and this was after they had updated that guidance in their last earnings report. So Walmart crashed like 10% after hours the other night. They probably recovered today since the market was, on fire today. But they're basically telling you that they can't make as much money as normally would. And Walmart is like, at the end of the day, it's like the pulse of the US from a retail standpoint, right?
Agreed.
And then on top of that, earlier this week, they announced that consumer confidence slid again. And the thing about the recession and all that is that a lot of it can still be self-inflicted, because if everybody thinks we're going into a recession, they stop spending, which only makes that happen faster, whether or not the GDP tells you that.
Yeah.
So at the end of the day, all that to say that like this is going to be a drawn out thing. We'll be talking about this for months, years. This is going to take a long time to correct.
Yeah.
Now, what do you guys think? Is it going to be? I was reading this like debate that happened. I think it was earlier this week or late last week. A lot of people are saying like, oh, if the recession hits, it's going to be like a quick dip, and then we're back at it, kind of like the COVID one.
Uh-huh.
I don't know, man. I'm kind of feeling like if we get into recession type territory,
Yeah.
it's going to be a doozy. I think it's going to last.
How for everybody at home that's listening, if this recession continues and they continue to go as Powell was saying, we're going to go hard with rates, like how is that going to affect the overall economy for the working class? Because that's the bigger.
Well, I mean,
That's the bigger demographic.
Everything, I think from a growth standpoint, that means that now businesses are contracting versus expanding. And what that means is people lose their jobs.
Yeah.
So now people lose their jobs. They can't pay their monthly bills. They can't pay their mortgage. They can't make their payments. So now we go into defaults. And that's kind of how the system ends up like rinsing itself out every few years. Every time that spending and printing gets out of control, the market has a way of, reverting to the mean. And that's
Mhm.
ultimately what it is. But unfortunately, we can call it, reverting or regressing to the mean. But what that really means is that people are going to suffer.
Yeah.
So that's the tough part. But I got one
Yeah.
more. I don't mean to start on a somber note, but it's reality,
Hey,
right?
man, that's what it is.
And this is why, because things like this happen. So a CEO sold worthless crypto tokens and used proceeds for a Hawaii condo. The CEO of a purported cryptocurrency investment company pleaded guilty for his role in a crypto fraud scheme that raised $21 million from investors, the Department of Justice said. Michael Allen Stollery was CEO and founder of the California-based Titanium Blockchain Infrastructure Services. He pleaded guilty Friday to one count of securities fraud in the U.S. District Court for the Central District of California and faces up to 20 years in prison at his scheduled sentencing in November. The DOJ said Stollery lured investors to purchase his company's cryptocurrency through a series of false and misleading statements. He admitted that he did not use the invested money as promised, but instead commingled the ICO's initial coin offering, investors' funds with his personal funds, using at least a portion of the offering proceeds for expenses related to, I forgot what TBIS stands for. Oh, yeah, Titanium Blockchain Infrastructure Services, such as credit card payments and the payment of bills for Stollery's Hawaii condominium. So basically, he came out with a coin. If you read more into it, it has no utility, no function at all.
Yeah.
He got people to drop $21 million into it. He paid for his condos and he really did nothing with it. And they had him go under. So when things like that continue to happen, like people are now losing more faith, again,
Of course.
how much has deflated from crypto's market cap?
Oof.
Trillion, like it's like over a trillion.
Over
right?
a trillion.
Yeah.
At one point, I don't want to say a number because I can't remember, but it was definitely over $1 trillion.
Yeah.
So anyway, all this to say that, the news continues to paint that picture, which we know it will, right? We're going to end on that note as always, but it's stuff that you have to be aware of, because I think anytime that you get a crazy reaction, which we'll talk about in a little bit when we talk about El Mercado, you can't forget this stuff is what I'll leave.
Yeah.
you with.
So what you're saying is that guy doesn't need dollars.
I need a dollar, that's what I need.
He don't need them,
Well, I need
but he could sure use them, right?
dollar,
So let's talk about El Mercado today. And, obviously amidst all this bad news and everything that's happened, we did have,
He's got a small glimpse of positivity.
yeah, exactly. I'm going to bring some maize over here. So
Let's get
hit me with some maize, man. Yes, sir. And in honor of our Mas Maiz Day, I did actually oven bake some sweet corn. It was really amazing. I had that with some steak today, but the S&P 500 went up
I
100.
thought he was gonna say he got some mice.
Oven, hold on. Oven baked corn.
Well, I couldn't
I
roast
grill
it.
it. I roast it. I boil it. I've never oven baked it.
Hey,
Was it
you don't
tender?
know it. You don't know
I
until you
don't
try it.
know.
It's good, man. I made it. It's good. So the S&P 500 went up 102 points to 4,023.61 points. The NASDAQ went up 469 points to 12,032. And the Dow Jones went up 436 points to 32,197.59. And again, if you're just tuning in, you are listening to Brown Wealth Radio here on TGN Latinx and the Good News Radio Network. So let's talk a little bit about some earnings, because that was our plug for today. So hit them with some earnings. Hit them with that.
El dinero me llueve, me da diablo que aguacero, en la cuenta un par de cero, y empezamos desde cero. Yes.
And that money was raining down on some of these companies,
Yes,
man.
sir.
So who we gonna go to first, man?
Well, why don't you take off with Tesla? Because that was supposed to be last.
That
week,
was
right?
last week, right? All right, cool. So $ TSLA. So check out some of these numbers, folks. So expected earnings per share, 1.83. Actual, 2.27. I think that's a win.
That's pretty
a
good.
win.
All right. Expected revenue, 16.9 billion. Actual revenue, 16.88. I call that a hit.
Yeah.
That's close enough, right? Now, however, revenue did drop from Q1, down 18.76 billion from 18.76 billion, but still an increase year over year of 11.95 billies.
So this year went up basically 5 billion.
No. This year it went up
Over the year.
11.95 year over year.
Wow.
However, it was just lower than it was from the previous quarter.
Got it.
Same with their car deliveries. They went down to the mid 250,000 vehicles delivered, down from 305,000 in the first quarter, but it's still up 206,000 from last year. So the reason I share that with you folks is that you see that sometimes, we miss the expectation, but you got to look at the bigger picture. Like, how are they doing year over year? Now, the most talked about news is that they have now converted 75% of their Bitcoin holdings into fiat money, which would mean like the US dollar.
Okay.
So I would assume, and at least that's what I assume, right? So now conversions in Q2 added 936 million
Wow.
in cash to their balance sheet. Margins decreased from 32.9 to 27.9. However, Tesla said that they're still expecting at least a 50% growth annually.
Jesus.
So
Jesus
I'm gonna let the guy who actually drives the Tesla here talk a little bit more about it.
I mean, so now that we've had a couple other big tech companies come out, like that earnings number is impressive.
Is it not?
It's extremely impressive. And if you think about it, revenue and production, like you have to hand it to them because they've been significantly impacted by some of the stoppages in China.
Yeah.
So I think you think about all that all that combined, like the one thing with Tesla right now, the reason I still think, any rallies will get sold, and we'll talk about that in a little bit, is our boy Elon is kind of on one. Like he's living la vida loca, bro. Like he's doing some crazy.
I was just
stuff.
gonna say that,
So that he's actually like, as much as you guys know, like I'm a little bit of an Elon fan, a little bit.
he like NBA YoungBoy. How many baby mamas he
But
got?
he's kind of wild right now, and that behavior is not. It makes it unpredictable, which makes people like not have as much confidence in it. So I was just gonna share, like I plan to get back in Tesla, but not right now. I think it's a little price. I think it's a little too expensive right now. I think it's going to get down into, probably the 600s at some point when the market pulls back. But I will say that some of the action the market has been showing as of late makes me think there's a possibility it could be this year, it could be next year. Like the market's going to make it as unpredictable as possible. But I'm not in at these prices right now because I think it could pull back more.
Hey, but I will say, you saw Elon's skin color. He looked like a volleyball. He ain't out in the sun. He's in the lab working. He looked like somebody that's grinding.
He's grinding all right, but I don't know if it's in the lab,
I don't know. He takes steps out to have some fun, but he in there no tan. Bezos got the tan, the woman, the yachts, and it all.
He came out. He was recently, like, whatever the allegation was, right, of him
with the Google founder's wife.
Right, the Google guy's ex-wife.
Now ex-wife was
Now
wife,
ex-wife.
separated at the
Cold
time.
world.
But
bro.
he put I think one of the tweets he put out was like, yo, I'm too busy to go have all these flings that y'all are accusing me of.
Sure.
And to your point, when I saw a recent picture, I was like,
Nah,
the
he
man looking
working.
like Interview with the Vampire. He's not going out nowhere.
Yeah, he was trying to audition for Powder too.
in front of a screen somewhere trying to make shit happen at Tesla.
Well,
or
before I move
SpaceX.
on, I'll share my prices, man. Tesla, I think 621 and 547 are realistic in the next 6 months, and load the boat under 500, 465, 357. If it
That's
goes down that low,
dope.
you buy as much as you
Free
can.
game.
Yeah. So I'll go through two other ones in regards to earnings, because these two companies are actually bigger than Tesla. And for the first time in recent memory, they both missed top and bottom. Both missed top and bottom. So first off, Google expected was 132. They came in at 121 for earnings per share. Revenue, similar to Tesla. I mean, they technically were pretty much there, but at the end of the day, they're going to call it a miss. Expected 70 billion. They came in at 69.7. But a lot of different categories. They also came, in some categories, I would just say that they beat expectations, like ad revenue, for example, but they were down on cloud revenue. So that always is going to cause some volatility. But with Google, I don't know what it's at today because it probably went back up, but it was at 110 at some point. The all-time high is 151. The average price target is 147. Like Google, at the end of the day, if your trajectory is long-term and it's your long-term portfolio, like you can't miss at these prices.
113, by the way.
113.
113. But personally, my buying prices I'll share also. I think 102 and 95 are probably very realistic in the next 6 months. And if it ever drops into the 80s or 70s, like you gotta load the boat.
Yeah.
And the numbers are so low because they just had what?
A split.
Stock splits.
Yes, sir.
They had
20
a
to
stock
1.
split. But anyway, let me get through Microsoft and then I'll share one more thing. So Microsoft, very similar to Google, they also missed on earnings. They were supposed to come in at 229. They came in at 223. Expected revenue was 52.45. They missed it by a little bit more. They came in closer to 51.9. Cloud revenue missed. Video games dropped 6% year over year. However, during their call, they said that income would increase by double digits, and that caused like a little bit of a turnaround in the stock, right? So Microsoft, I also don't know what they ended up at today. I know that they were at like 261 at some point yesterday, probably like 265, I would guess, something like that. Their all-time high is 348. Their average price target is 339. So both Google and Microsoft have like 30%.
268.74.
So they both have 30 to 35% upside at these levels. My buy-ins for Microsoft are 246, 232, 211, 186. Those lower ones are load the boat prices too.
Yeah.
And then just really quickly to touch on it, and then we can talk about this more, at a bigger level. Meta reported today, so that's Facebook. Their earnings came in at 246 versus 261 expected. That was a 32% decrease to the same quarter last year. And then revenue was also below expectations. And the biggest thing about that is Meta's or Facebook's first ever revenue drop on a quarterly basis. They've never had one.
Wow.
So we I know we didn't go into Netflix. I know we were going to maybe touch on it last week, but the crazy part is that what used to be called the FANG stocks, like two of them are no longer there. Like Netflix and Facebook have lost so much market cap that the only ones that really make it from there still are Amazon, Apple, and Google.
Okay.
Yeah, the ANG of it, right? And now it's really like Tesla and Microsoft that should take those spots. So I just think it's crazy. The earnings for Google and Microsoft led to a bounce in the market because I think that even though they weren't necessarily good earnings reports, they weren't as bad as it could have been.
Yeah.
And then today with the FOMC announcement that the rates were going to come in at what was expected, the market just flew.
Yeah.
So it closed over 400. After last week, it obviously went up to 400, came back down. Now it's at 400. I think it's going to be a little bit of a tug of war the next couple of days. If it could hold 400, I think it probably goes up to like 405, 410. If it can't hold 400, I think it quickly goes back down to like that 390 level. Like the way I'm playing it is I'm kind of like not playing it right now because I just think it's a little too volatile. I think Apple still reports tomorrow.
Yep.
Amazon reports tomorrow.
The big dogs.
We get the GDP announcement Friday morning. So there's going to be a ton of volatility. I'd rather wait until the dust settles because at the end of the day, I don't think there's much news that are going to be positive that would really lead to like a real sustained rally.
Yeah.
So my play is to wait to see if it goes up and then play the downside. But what I will tell you guys is if it continues to build some momentum, like it could stay like north of 400 for a little bit, maybe sell off in September and then get that rally right back up. So there's a lot of places it could go right now. It's hard to guess right now. The market is very irrational.
Well, I think you made a great point in our chat earlier today where we talked about the market makers. You want to elaborate on that?
Yeah. So, and this is what I think has happened, like, especially in the last like 2 months as people, traders have transitioned from playing the upside to playing the downside a little bit more. So at the end of the day, like if you're trading and you're playing in options, right? Someone is writing those options. And yes, you can write your own options if you own 100 shares of a particular company, but the people who are really writing those options are the big dogs, like the institutional investors, funds, right? That own millions of shares. Yeah. So when they're selling, if they're selling puts, right? their best interest is for the market to go up. They want those puts to expire worthless so that they can collect your entire premium. So when everybody turns bearish and the sentiment is very bearish, everybody's buying puts, right? Everybody's buying puts. So then they don't want it to go down. They make it go up the other way. And then on the opposite is when everybody starts getting too optimistic, like they were last week when they were coming up to 400, now people start selling calls. So, they're selling calls. They don't want the market to go up. They want it to go down. So sometimes when that sentiment is too extreme in one way or the other, it tends to make the market react the opposite way.
So does it kind of play into their hands as far as,
they want it to play in their hand.
It's kind of like when we talk about like the bull traps or the bear traps. This is just a longer extended version of that because they don't want to pay out, which shit. I mean, it's money. I don't want to see that money go out either. I want to get it my way.
They also charge a higher premium.
I just got two questions. One is Ruben gonna be okay now that Google came in and they like didn't do so great?
DC,
he's gonna be all right. Like my boy, they're gonna be all right. Google's coming back.
I'm sure he's gonna send us about 4 or 5 news articles how it's better, and then and then at the same time he's also gonna like probably talk shit about Elon and stuff like that. So we're gonna get all that.
And what was your second question?
My second question is really pertaining to Microsoft. So now that Microsoft has reported, and we see that the numbers ain't that bad. Like the expectations weren't met, but dude, like Microsoft is still Microsofting. How do you guys feel about their the fact that they're the strategic partner that Netflix took for their ad-based?
I think they're going to buy Netflix.
That's what I'm.
Yep.
Is that what you're?
Yep. That's what they're positioning.
Netflix got a lot cheaper.
It's like a softball pitch.
Slow pitch. I would know that. Yeah.
No, but here,
think about how much Netflix would have cost you a year ago.
Yeah, but before we go to break, one thing I do want to touch on is Michael Burry.
Well, we can come back.
You guys know Michael Burry.
The Big Short.
Seconds.
Huh? Okay, well, we'll come back to it. We can go back to it real quick.
No, we got time.
Yeah, 45 seconds. Yeah.
So Michael Burry mentioned how he thinks this is like the last hurrah for some of these companies. And real talk, I don't know how the market's going to react on the next round of earnings, but I think he's right because if you think about it, any financing they did, this was still pre-tightening. And this was also while the Fed was still loading its balance sheet. Now, granted, they actually did not sell off as much as they said they would. But I would just say that you have to keep that in mind because at the end of the day, no matter how much cash these companies have, we know that they're going to take loans out, right, to finance their stuff
and using their own money.
So you think about that. You think about people, less spending power, things like video games being down. I wouldn't be surprised if some crazy stuff happens the next.
We'll continue.
That's some good information. So we're gonna come right back after the break. We're gonna give you guys some more news, but stay tuned to Brown Wealth Radio.
Be surprised if some crazy stuff happens the next.
We'll continue.
That's some good information. So we're gonna come right back after the break. We're gonna give you guys some more news, but stay tuned to Brown Wealth Radio.
Hey, Jackie, what's wrong?
I'm over here running around trying to tell everybody about the Podcast Pit.
What's the Podcast Pit?
I'm glad you asked. The Podcast Pit is an event where you will find some of your favorite podcasts performing in front of a live audience.
Will there be food and drinks there?
Of course there will be. It's at Joxer Dailies in Culver City. They have a full bar and a full menu.
Hey, I might need to tell people about this as well.
Yes, come with me. Let's tell them. The Podcast Pit is coming. The Podcast Pit is coming.
Hey, my name is Jasmine Sweets, and I'm so excited to be bringing you the Sweet Spot on TGN Vibes, Good Vibes, and R&B. Playing the old school, new school, and in between. I'm coming to you this summer. Stay tuned.
What's up, friends? It's Iron Friends. We're here at the Podcast Pit LA. It was so fun. We came to rep the IE. I think we did a pretty good job. So shout out to the Podcast Pit for having us. Shout out to TGN. You guys should definitely check them out. You should check me out, Saul V. Gomez.
Y'all can find me at I Know Caesar on IG. You can find me at airbear_IE on IG.
And you guys can find the podcast at Iron Friends on every social media network except for OnlyFans. That's coming soon. So stay tuned. So follow us and follow TGN Podcast Pit. Have a good day, guys.
What's up? It's Brandon from the Primos Chilos radio show. Are you tired of filthy, lowbrow, scummy entertainment? Well, I don't have the solution for you. Check out the Primos Chilos radio show, live Thursdays at 12 on TGN Latinx.
Hey there, business owners. Don't miss our limited time offer. Advertise on the Good News Radio as low as $2 per commercial slot. That's right. Promote your business up to 4 times a day, every day for a month on live radio. If you're interested, email us at contact@tgnradio.net. Once again, that's contact@tgnradio.net.
Hey, Jackie, what's wrong?
I'm over here running around trying to tell everybody about the Podcast Pit.
What's the Podcast Pit?
I'm glad you asked. The Podcast Pit is an event where you will find some of your favorite podcasts performing in front of a live audience.
Will there be food and drinks there?
Of course there will be. It's at Joxer Dailies in Culver City. They have a full bar and a full menu.
Hey, I may need to tell people about this as well.
Yes, come with me. Let's tell them. The Podcast Pit is coming. The Podcast
Pit is coming.
Are you single and ready to mingle? Well, you may not be, but now here's your chance to purchase an all-new 30-day journal, Single and Not Quite Ready to Mingle, a 30-day journal to make the most of your single season. It's by me, Chanel, co-host of Brunch with Besties show. You can purchase your journal right now on Amazon by typing in Single and Not Quite Ready to Mingle. Now is the time to do the work. I'm rooting for you. Go ahead and purchase your journal now. Single and Not Quite Ready to Mingle, a 30-day journal to make the most of your single season. Are you ready?
All right, welcome back, everybody, to Brown Wealth Radio here on TGN Latinx and the Good News Radio Network. It's the whole team here. It's your boy Ricks, along with Dogra, Jesse, and Rennie in studio. As always, you can follow us on social media at the Brown Skin Investors, where we are going to have some amazing guests coming up. So make sure that you guys stay tuned to our IG to find out who's going to be coming on. And you can catch us next week on Caesalia Knows It All, Tuesday at 1 p.m. on TGN Latinx. Make sure you
go. Are we going down the conspiracy rabbit hole with him?
I'm very down to do that, but I'm also very interested because he said we're going to be talking about a movie called that's near and dear to my heart, The Program with Omar F. So we're going to have a little discussion about this. So I believe that's going to be the great fucking movie of the week. But as always, on our Instagram, you can use the link in our bio to purchase our Brown Wealth Matters stock market course and Brown Wealth Matters merch and more. Before the break, we have some interesting conversation about these earning reports about the big techs. And we're going to continue that conversation because I do think that some big factors are going to be coming up with some of these companies that are going to be reporting earnings. So I don't know if you guys want to continue to discuss
I want to
Microsoft and Meta and all that stuff.
Well, I want to hear Rennie's more thoughts about this being the last hurrah for some of those companies.
I'm not saying it's the last hurrah like ever. I'm saying it's the last hurrah for as far as like the market being able to digest it as positive news. Because I do think that, all macroeconomic conditions have gotten more challenging backwards looking against. Remember, these reports that we're getting right now are not for July. They're for the quarter before that, right? So they're going to be April, May, June in most cases. So if you think about it, that is literally like a third of it was right before because I think they started tightening. Was it April, May? And then I think they start, and then I think the Fed, started reducing its balance sheet in May or June or whatever that was. So the point is quantitative easing. There was still a component of that. So I do think that, if you think about the downturn in the market, none of these companies are trading at the levels like Apple was at one point at 180, right? Like, all these were at much higher numbers, but they didn't like fall apart like the way that some of these small caps did, right?
Yeah,
like,
of course.
The Squares and all that kind of
all
stuff,
of
right?
them.
But generally speaking, if you look at the last couple like recessions and things like that, small cap typically bottoms before large cap companies, right? And large cap companies, like they've pulled back, but not to that level. So I just think that there's still another shoe that needs to drop. And I do think it's these companies, but it might not be this go around yet. Or either that, or, they're doing what I always say, they're fattening the cat before they skin it.
Yes,
because
if you're
going to get out of the market, why would you want to get out at 380 if you can influence it to go up to 410, 420? So that's the way I'm going to be playing it. But I will tell you guys that I think if the S&P 500 can hold like the 410 to 412 level, like I think it could shoot back up into, maybe the 420s, 430s, and then maybe come back down like around September. But, the way I'm playing it is, I would want to play the downside, but I think this 400 to like 405 range is a good range to play the downside. And then if it goes back over 408, I'd probably cut that trade.
I think what's interesting is tomorrow, right?
Yeah.
You got Apple, you got Amazon. Apple typically does not have as big a drawdown as everybody else. Like they're kind of the ones that hold the market up.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Amazon, I'm really excited to hear about because they've already lost a significant amount of their market share. Market cap this year. I think they're down 36% from their highs. So I'm interested to see like what's happening now, right? Like they've been putting out a lot of good press. Like they put out all the Rivian electric trucks that they're delivering with now. They're, is AWS, you said that Microsoft's cloud service revenue declined. Will AWS's decline? And that's their moneymaker. So
Amazon's definitely not losing market share. I'll say that.
No, not market share, but market cap.
Yeah,
right?
no, 100%.
And then
I
I don't
mean,
know if you saw it,
They're
but
getting into the healthcare industry.
dude,
Yeah.
That's
so
game changing.
before we get to One Medical, right? Like the one thing that I saw is like, bro, they're like, we think we're suffering with like things getting more expensive. Amazon announced they're like throughout all of Europe, Amazon Prime is now going up. Like, I think in France it's like 42%.
Wow.
Like for the
Yeah,
membership.
for the fee, yeah.
And they said we don't expect to lose customers because even with that, they're still like the best option.
I mean,
option.
I don't know about you guys, but I think having the Grubhub edition has really been a game changer as far as having Amazon Prime.
Yeah. Now you ain't got to pay for Grubhub.
Some good additions happening over there.
Not really good additions,
Yeah.
actually. Not only that, but you know, who's else getting the Amazon Google storage for your Amazon storage for your photos free if you have Amazon Prime.
Amazon Prime. Yeah.
They're offering that too, trying to get into the cloud business a little more.
So
But-
then you think of what
but
you
there is-
mentioned, that medical.
Now the
Bro.
medical is game changer, and I think is this Bezos' way of I see what you're doing, Cuban. I'm gonna show you how to really do it.
What's the
I
what's the
don't-
rollout looking like as
I don't
far
think
as
it's a direct competition.
No, not a
with
direct
Cuban.
competition, but this is how Bezos does. Anything you could do, I can do better.
Okay, I like that.
what do you guys know about this program? Just because I'm
So,
not really into that program. right
One
now.
Medical apparently is a company that like helps you track your health. So I think it's a subscription model too. So I think you
Okay.
pay $199 a year, and they help monitor like your blood pressure, your cholesterol. They refill your prescriptions for you.
Uh-huh.
They try to keep you on track to make sure that
Okay.
like you're hitting your medical goals for that year.
Yeah.
So when you think about that, and then don't forget they bought PillPack a few years back, so they were already in that pharmacy business.
Yeah.
Now you got One Medical, dude. If there's one place you're gonna make money in the U.S., it's fucking healthcare.
And also not only is it huge monetary potential, but take the healthcare industry in general. They're not looking out for our best interest.
Never have, never will.
They're giving us medications to keep us, not to cure us, but to keep us in the situation we're in. They're not coming to see how you are. You pay for it. You don't see them the whole year. They're happy.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So with this medical subscription, it's almost like a health coach, a digital health coach type thing, which I think can be a game changer. And I think all of us need it. But I'm curious to hear Renee's.
I just see him smirking like for the last 5 minutes. Like
I know there's some amazing additions happening happening to the company of Amazon. Maybe Renee has more on that.
Maybe,
Maybe next week. I don't know.
TBA to be announced at a later time.
Oh, there you go.
Okay.
Sounds good.
So I think there's one thing that we can see Amazon's not in need of right now.
Yeah.
And I think that's
They kind of got that game. They got that game sold up right now.
yeah, I think they got it on the credit side
Yeah,
too.
exactly.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Credit rules everything around me. So the credit game, there's a lot of speculation against it. A lot of people are fearful of it or don't really like it. And I got challenged on the history of credit, and to be honest, I never really thought about the history of credit when it came about or what's it about. And I don't know if you guys are aware, but in 1974, the Equal Credit Opportunity Act was signed into law. And basically, because the reason it came about was because credit and lending were largely determined by face-to-face visits with bank employees and lending officers. This fact alone created discrepancy between people of color and Caucasians when it came to being approved for credit cards, loans, and mortgages, being that those that worked for the bank were what? Caucasian. And they trusted people that looked like them. And people of color were not seen equally, and prior to the Equal Credit Opportunity Act, redlining was happening. There's a lot of things happening, keeping people of color from building wealth. And the Equal Credit Opportunity Act came into law to prevent that, right? But then again, those in power that didn't want people of color to build wealth, they're the ones that came up with what makes a credit score. So they realized, hey, redlining, we can't do that anymore. They want it to be equal. So we're going to put this law in that says we're equal, but we're going to find a different way to still do what we do and keep those oppressed that we want to continue to keep oppressed. So, for example, what makes up your credit score? Mortgages, student loans, auto loans, credit cards. 70% plus of Caucasians own a home or has parents owned a home. 40 something percent of people of color. So a lot of majority of people of color don't have a mortgage payment, but they pay rent every month. Why isn't rent, which is something you pay religiously every month, considered in your credit score? You know, people of color have been taken advantage of by high APRs with credit cards, so they've avoided credit cards. Why is getting into debt and having credit card payments necessary to build a credit score? So I'm bringing this up because it really resonated with me when I was looking into it, researching it, and kind of like, damn, I didn't think about it like that. You know what I mean? And again, another example where we don't necessarily start at the equal level playing field with everyone else. You know, people of color just tend to be a step or two behind. What are your guys' thoughts on it?
I think for me, it's like, okay, well, I mean, acknowledging that is important. It's extremely important, right? But like, what are you supposed to do? Hey, like, you know, the history of credit is negative, so like you shouldn't participate. You know, I mean, is what it comes down to. I think you have to understand all that, but I think at the same time, like, you know, things have changed, right? And I mean, I think Warren Buffett's not Berkshire, but his real estate company, his
Triton, I think it is called.
They just got called out for it too. So like that stuff is out there, but I think, you know, the only way you expose that is if you actually try to participate and get credit.
Yeah,
So-
absolutely.
So on that note, because you just mentioned it, right? When are we gonna start calling Warren Buffett out for the shit that he and his organizations do? Because everybody looks at Warren Buffett like the good guy, but he was also like Wells Fargo, which is one of his biggest holdings, is also one of the banks that got caught with like opening those fake credit cards or those fake accounts for people.
Yep.
Now we hear about this discrimination with loans. I mean, I know he's not in the day-to-day, but bro, your name is on it.
Yeah,
absolutely.
No, that's real 100%. I mean, you know, it is what it is. I just like, to me, it made me realize even more why I want to educate people on credit, the benefits of credit, you know, why we need to learn about it, why we need to talk about it. I'm tired of the communities of color being afraid to talk about money, finances, credit, things like that.
It's such an important thing because, you know, the more I see things, it's really about breaking cyclical, you know, cycles of trauma from our families, our family lives, the generational trauma, you know, things like that we're trying to break through. And I think credit and the credit game, because we've talked about this for a very long time in pretty much every single episode, the way to build wealth is with time, right? We haven't had that time. So we are the first cog in the machine of our family to build generational wealth. So that is why we need to help and understand and educate, put out information where people are going to be able to start doing it. It's a known fact. We haven't had the 50 to 100 years of building credit. We have to start it now, and we have to educate ourselves so that time can actually help catch up.
Well,
and we can build those things.
But I think real talk, like I think, you know, I mean, we get that part, but I think a lot of people, and maybe it's our community, maybe it's other communities, like they feel like they're being preached to, right? When we talk about it from that standpoint, I think in certain cases, like we got to be real about it. Like at the end of the day, it's about like how many dollars are attached to your name? What's that net worth looking like, right?
Facts.
And in order for you to work on that, you gotta take credit and play offense. So regardless of what's happened in the past, like you gotta familiarize yourself. Like, man, everything Chris shares every week is some shit that you gotta like go and apply right away.
Yep.
Right. Because that's how you're gonna level up, man. Like that's what it comes down to.
I agree 100, and I put it back on us too. Like, stop getting credit just to blow it.
Yeah.
That's not what it's there for. It's not to live outside your means. It's not to buy that $800 Bad Bunny ticket. Unless you're getting 7% cash back and it's paying for your ticket, because that's the smart way to do it. You feel me though? But it's really interesting to think about the social aspect of credit and these questions coming to me from people.
So I'm gonna share some free game right here real quick. So I was, you know, by the way, I saw you guys ask Jesse about his vacation. Y'all didn't ask me about mine.
How was the Virgin? How was
bro?
St. John's, bro?
Damn, bro.
We fucking up, Riggs. We fucking up.
I'm just messing, man. But look, while I was out there, this is my play. We were out there. It was a Westin trip, right? So I have my Marriott Bonvoy, which by the way, Marriott like is picking up everything. Like they're gonna own almost all the hotels, period. So I got my Marriott Bonvoy card out there, and I went out there with my wife. She took two of her friends. guess what card picked up the tab every single time that we spent some money?
That
Marriott
Bonvoy.
Bonvoy.
That's right. So we got so much free vacation out of it, right? And anytime that we weren't on the property, I'm taking my travel. No, actually, not my travel rewards. My cash rewards with Bank of America, 7% back on all restaurants on her card. So that's what we did. Like, and we did that, and that's why, like, I feel like when you understand credit and you get to that point, you can at least make those moves, because otherwise, what they were going to be doing is they were going to either be paying cash, maybe in some cases debit cards. I'm like, well, all right, cool. If you guys don't mind, why don't you just Venmo it to me?
Yeah.
So, like, you know, at some point we got to start looking at things like that. Like, I went on that vacation, but just by using my credit card like that, significantly lowered our cost of that
1000%.
vacation.
Your full cost.
Hold on
for
a
sure.
second. We got to give a shout out to my man Cesar Leo.
Oh, Cesar Leo in the building.
And Rennie, he's asking, does winning La Condina improve your credit?
Hey, La Condina. Hey, shout out to everybody that's been in Condina. I participated in plenty of Condinas. Hold up, though.
Condinas are real.
Cesar Leo, you a New York dude, right? What's a Condina over there in New York?
Oh, it's a Susu.
A Susu. What the hell is a Susu? My boy over here in New York said a Condina is a Susu. That's how they refer to it out there.
We need let's do real credit. Not Condina is credit.
Yeah.
Honestly, Condina is just social credit, and be careful. There's a lot of people
It's
that
hood credit,
disappeared on their families or their
Oh,
friends
yeah.
when it was their turn to pay after
Or-
they got
or
paid
if
out.
you're-
They did like
smart.
the guy from crypto and
Oh,
just
yeah,
bounced.
they did the
if
guy
you're
from
smart,
crypto.
you get the first draw, and then you just bounce. You know, you don't pay into it anymore. So
Cold world.
Yeah, but I think you guys both hit it, right? Like, one thing is to acknowledge the history. The other thing is to, now that you know the rules of the game, learn how to fucking play it.
yeah.
So
Hey,
with that,
we got to use our head. That's all.
Yeah,
it
yeah,
is.
just it's all good.
It's all good. Real quick.
real quick. And it looks like, you know, Cesar Leo also following through. Look at that. He said he stopped using that debit card. Because
Thank you, Cesar Leo. Thank you, my
what is
brother.
the debit card, Chris?
Hey, the worst financial tool ever given to the American consumer.
Boom.
Cesar Leo, hit me up. You need any card advice? I got you, bro.
There we go. So this week, you know, kind of getting to like what Rennie was talking about, right? We've been talking a lot of, you know, like what our community could be doing better, where we're lacking. You know, I wanted to bring some props to what the Hispanic and Latino community, Latina community, Latinx community, whichever way you want the word, and the word Latin, whether it's with an
We
A
love you,
or
Jackie.
X. Yes, we love you, Jackie. But have you guys ever heard of a woman by the name of Nina Otero Warren?
I have not.
I have
All
not
right.
either.
So Nina Otero Warren, she was born in New Mexico and was born into what was considered back in the day as like the Hispanic elite. Her mom's side of the family were one of the first settlers in New Mexico, dating back to the early 1500s. Her pop side settled in the late 1700s. And this is the crazy part. Her pops was murdered in 1883 by Anglos, aka Caucasians, who questioned his property ownership. Like, how does this Hispanic have all this property? And they wind up murking him.
Yeah.
So Otero Warren, I want to make sure that we represent, like, she came from money. Like, they were wealthy people in New Mexico.
Ain't nothing wrong with that.
Ain't nothing wrong with that.
Her family did what they needed to do.
Exactly. So she tirelessly advocated in Spanish and English for New Mexico to ratify the 19th Amendment, which gave women the right to vote. Now, if you don't know, in order to ratify an amendment, you need 3/4 of the states to co-sign it, right?
Yeah.
That would never happen today.
Nothing's gonna be right.
Hence why the last amendment happened how many years ago?
Yeah.
So this is actually pretty cool. Since the first language of the vast majority of New Mexicans was Spanish, her bilingualism helped her work with opinion leaders across communities to keep suffrage and women movements right at front and center. In the early 1920s, Otero served as the chairwoman of the State Federation of the Women's Club. As a chairman, she worked towards progressive goals. Part of it included persuading lawmakers to raise the age of consent from 16 to 18. So all these little pervy dudes in New Mexico weren't trying to get 16-year-olds married and pregnant. She also worked to advance an act to provide for the care of dependent and neglected children. And there's more. So by 1921, women were guaranteed the right to run for office, and she ran in 1922 as a Republican. Remember, Republicans and Democrats were
Back in the
on
days,
opposite sides. But she lost to a Democrat. Now, what's crazy is she was the first Latina superintendent of public schools of Santa Fe, a position she held for 12 years.
That's what's up.
So there we go. I know we got our educators out
Yes,
here.
sir. Yes, sir.
She was also the first Latina superintendent of public schools of Santa Fe. Oh, sorry, I said that part already, right? Sorry. She was later appointed to the state director of the Federal Civilian Conservation Corps by President Franklin D. Roosevelt.
Okay.
Now, she's written books, and what's really cool about this is that now she's getting honored on the back of the quarter of the American quarter. So you're going to see her face on a 25-cent quarter. I believe the coins go into circulation like August 15th, so 2-3 weeks away.
Yeah.
So I thought that was
awesome.
really cool to see that there's a Latina being represented. So shout out to Nina and all her contributions to help move the women's movement forward, and especially for doing it while representing for Latinos. She helped keep so I didn't know this, in New Mexico, Spanish is considered like one of the state languages.
Really?
Yeah,
I never knew that.
Yeah,
That's
so
crazy.
it came about like in 1912. So I thought that was pretty dope. Over 100 years ago, she helped
Yeah.
make sure that Spanish stayed in that. So that was really, really cool.
Yeah.
So how does that make you feel? Like,
I think, man, it's inspiring, man. And I'm just really quickly going to segue that into just really quickly plugging our next 2 episodes, because we have two very amazing ladies that are going to be joining us.
sir.
We have Maribel from Our Wealth Matters is going to be joining us next Wednesday. And then we have Stephanie from Uproot Talent, who's going to be here the week after that. And these 2 ladies are like really changing the game. Maribel was featured on the NY Times. We've known Stephanie for a very long time, and they're just doing some amazing things. We actually reposted one of her posts today on how to ask for a raise, and like she spits some amazing game that you got to take back. So these are women that are hopefully going to do things that, like Nina's doing, right? Like we need to see that. Like that's amazing. Like she's going to be on a quarter.
Yeah.
Dope.
Like
That's dope.
that just what you talked about. I mean, it does kind of seem like we're coming at our people and letting them know, like, yo, you got to learn this stuff. You got to learn this stuff. But it's because, we need to get and continue to build on these things that were done by our predecessors that we don't even know about.
Facts.
So the work that she did, being such a major cog in suffrage and voting rights and taking care of, her people, and that we don't know about it, it's.
I would say you probably don't end up on the back of the quarter if all you did was inspire. You got to push them.
Nah,
Yeah,
100 on the back of a
Absolutely.
quarter, bro. That's big.
Yeah.
Who's been on the back of quarters? Presidents.
I think that's it.
I mean,
Sacagawea.
I mean, like
Yeah,
Harriet
word.
Tubman was supposed to be on the 20, and that hasn't even
that
happened.
hasn't even happened.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's a fact.
That's
So
dope,
shout out to Nina.
Yeah, shout out to
her lineage. I'm sure that they're still out there doing big
Yep.
things. But
Thank
man,
you for
so
paving the
Here's to
way.
you. Yep.
absolutely. So check it out, guys. It's
Bars.
our first
We got
we
time.
get into bars
being
with
all together,
We're
and
here.
we got enough.
We are
time.
here, baby. Let's go.
and our son, the MC.
Hey, real quick, let's
here.
shout out the comments. We had the beautiful Myra Altamira up
Hey,
there
there you
earlier. I
go.
think I might know her.
Who's that?
Wifey, what up?
Ooh,
There you go.
baby.
Leo was good. Dragon Beats checking in, man. But it's time for bars. Bro.
Let's
So
do
what are we
this.
talking about this
So-
week, man?
I was kind of thinking, like, what are we going to talk about today as far as bars? And I was like, should I bring a bar? Should I create a bar? Should I make? I was like, you know what? Let's talk
Should we
about.
just go to the bar?
With all this maíz that's been coming around the last couple of days, I wanted to talk about
Pausa.
what are the best hip hop songs around about money, having it, spending it, being a baller, and so here are some of the choices, and you guys
Well,
come
it
up
used
with
to be
your own.
cash rules everything around me for me, and then I realized what credit can do for me.
Yeah,
keep
right?
going.
So
Keep going. Keep
some
going.
of the options are, we got More Money, More Problems by Diddy. I Get Money by 50 Cent.
Oh, wait
I
a minute.
Get
Wait a
Money.
minute, bro. No Money, More Problems on Biggie's album, bro.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
well,
Come on, man.
By
Come
Diddy
on.
and Biggie.
No,
No,
by
Biggie.
Biggie.
By Biggie. By Biggie. Okay.
He wrote Diddy's verse, bro.
All in the video.
Yeah, that's why
All
he's all in the
dancing
videos.
in the
All right,
video.
we got Off the Books by Beatnuts, which
Let's
was on our
go.
post from Instagram. We got Money in the Thing by Jermaine Dupri featuring some like young rapper at the time. I don't know who that was. We got Money Trees by Kendrick Lamar. Obviously, we have Cream by Wu-Tang. About the Money by T.I. Blowing Money Fast, by my boy Rick Ross. And another one
Hustling by
is
Rick Ross.
Nipsey Hussle, Hustle and Motivate. But I mean, obviously, there's more.
These are some
But I wanted to
amazing
get
songs.
your-
but
I wanted to
I'ma
get your
go-
talk.
I'm gonna go with this. It goes, thinking of a master plan, cause ain't nothing but sweat inside my hand.
Okay.
So I keep dig into my pocket. All my money is spent. So I keep digging deeper. Still coming up. with
Okay.
Lent. Eric B. And Rakim Paid in Full, bro. That's the one that comes to mind for me
Okay.
because it's about the come up, man.
It is about
Like that one's about the come
Yeah.
up. So I definitely gotta roll with Eric B and
Okay.
Rakim. And then one other one that I'll shout out because I love Jay and Big. I love the dough. We push the hottest V's,
Yeah.
peel fast through the city, play Monopoly with real cash. Me and Biggie, like those are my two right there.
I thought you were gonna hit the whole verse after what you did to me and after what you did to me and Chris the other week about
Well, shout out
about the
to
intro.
Caesar Leo. He's saying wanna be a baller, shot caller
Caller,
by
there you
Lil
go.
Troy.
All right, that's a good one. What about you, Chris? What you think?
I mean, you said the ones that first came to my head, but I'm
Yeah.
looking at a list to see what we may have forgotten.
Uh,
I mean, Gold Digger was a dope ass song.
That is a good song.
That shit was a dope ass song. Shout out the ladies, Bills,
Yeah.
Destiny's Child. You know what I mean? I
Okay.
think that was pretty cool. Just to get off just hard
you
hip
got
hop.
Bone Thugs for the Love of Money.
For the love
That's a-
of
that's a-
money.
that's a great
That's
song.
a good
That's a
one.
Gotta get that money, man. Money, man.
DMX, Money, Cash, and Hoes.
Damn, these are all great songs.
Yeah, those
But
are good ones.
Lil Wayne
I'm
got
sticking with-
money.
Nah.
I'm sticking with the beat nuts,
Get
man.
money.
And off the books, you got Latino representation.
Pun.
You got Big Pun.
Yeah.
And it's what a lot of our community does is they get the money off the books.
Yep, that's real. That's real. I was always a big fan of that song.
I
I
love
love
that
that beat. Like,
So no lie, maybe like 2 weekends ago, I was trying to like make a reel with that song.
beat you to it,
And I
brother.
couldn't do it. So I was like, I'm glad you got to
Yeah.
it today, man. That was dope.
I said, let me be ironic and talk about earnings reports off the books.
Hey, but back to the point I talked about earlier, hip hop, this music that we listen to definitely is people of color. We have no problem talking about money there.
Oh, wait, hold on. I forgot about this one. Caesar Leo was coming in hot, man. Give me the
Okay.
loot.
Oh, give me the loot.
Give me the loot. Give me the loot.
All right, all right.
Get your roll on. Yeah, I love Manny Fresh's
Yes,
verse on Get Your
sir.
Roll On.
What
bro.
about obviously Bling Bling.
Oh,
That
man.
one is one of the most
Nah, that was
you know,
jewelry.
Bling Bling's
That's jewelry.
Bling Bling was dope
I'm
because
right.
I had just got out of boot camp when that song came out. So my first time
You
going
mean-
to the club.
The- the Hot Boys were dope. Give them their props.
Out of these songs that are on here, I think at least
Hot
for
Boys.
at least I think for this generation right here, it's got to be 50 though. I get
Yeah, no, yeah,
that is a
for
dope
real.
track.
because I was 12 years old when Mo Money Mo Problems come out. I guess I had no problems.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
money ain't a thing. Money was a thing.
You had a problem.
money wasn't a thing that I had.
yourself.
Yeah, like
And I definitely wasn't getting
You had a
money.
problem touching yourself.
like legit money. Money and a thing was probably like the first real J song that I heard.
Okay.
But at that time, money was a thing I
I've been
didn't
spending
have.
100 since it had
You
small
know?
face.
I get money now.
But I get money. I
He right.
didn't have money either when I get money dropped. But I just remember like mid 2000s that shit came on.
Hell
it
yeah.
was a banger, bro.
I mean, the reason I'm
I was-
really partial to About the Money by T.I. is just our boy Big Al. He used to always walk around just be like, busting out the bando.
hey, real talk. The 50 Cent days, like my 50 Cent money song was "Renting You a Window Shopper."
Yes, sir.
So if you're on, well, I mean, if you're on the radio, then you
Deuces.
can't hear us
You're
anymore.
gone
But if
already,
you're on
deuces.
YouTube, you're here with us. So
Yeah, we're still here.
if you still in there in the chat, let us know. Caesar Leo lighting us up with these songs. Who else got some opinions out there?
Let's
What's your
see.
favorite hip hop money song?
Hey, rumor has it Seal Leo and our son gonna do a verses. I don't know. Oh, baby.
Oh, wow. Now we're just doing verses, huh?
Hey, why not, man? Hey, Caesar Leo's got some
Hey,
dope shit,
you
bro.
know I'm the pot stir.
Why
Gotta
not,
stir
man? Why
that
you are,
motherfucker.
man? Why
Someone's
not?
got to do it for Mad in DC. They ain't
Yeah,
here.
exactly.
Nah, but I definitely say I'm
There's some
definitely
good ones, man.
we're on Caesar Leo. Caesar Leo gotta bring some beats on Tuesday, bro. I don't know. Maybe we can even get Rick's going. I don't know.
Damn.
I'm just excited. I'm excited about.
You gonna get
about
spotlight at a
great
retirement? I
fucking
don't believe
man.
it.
Rick's got bars, bro. He's got bars.
Oh no, he does. He just don't like to bring them out anymore.
Yeah, you got to keep them stored away sometimes, you know.
No
doubt, man. All right,
But
folks.
that looks like it's it for us this week, man. Honestly, it was great to see all you guys here today. Thank you to everybody that
Yeah,
joined
it
us
felt
on
good having the
YouTube.
family back, man.
You know,
Glad
shout
to
out
have
to TGN
everybody
Latin
back.
X for this dope new studio. I'm really
Yeah.
digging the vibe of it, and we will be here next week. But again, as always,
shout
make
out
sure
Thursday.
you catch. Yeah, make sure you catch us. What?
I got one more thing though. I do want to make sure. I know we
Real
already
quick.
talked about our next two guests. I also want to call it out. August 15th. Is that the date?
Yeah, I
Monday,
think
August
so.
15th. Is that the
Yes.
date?
Oh, yeah, yeah.
August 15th.
Monday.
We're gonna be at the podcast pit
At Jockster
So,
Dailies
at Jockster
in
Daily.
Culver City. We'll give you guys some more
That's
information
right.
on that, but we're gonna be there live. So that's gonna be our second live show. I'm really excited about that.
I'm
and again,
pumped.
this Tuesday for those that are joining us. We're going to be on Cesar Leo's show. Cesar Leo Knows All. We're going to be joining him, and I'm looking forward to it. Tuesday, 1 p.m. on TGN Latinx and YouTube. So make sure you guys join us. I'm looking forward to it. I hope you got the program lined up, ready to go, because I'm excited to do that movie, man.
That's right. And thank you to everybody for joining us tonight, man.
Yep.
Absolutely,
Yes, sir.
folks.
Y'all have a good night.
See y'all next week.
Hasta luego.
Remember, keep rocking with the team. Not for nothing, but y'all gotta make more songs with beats like that. Like with the old Spanish songs coming in, that shit hits home, baby.